Hello, welcome back. This is Joseph with the My Cross, His Grace podcast radio. You know, many American families have had a relative serve in the United States military. And many American families have a son, daughter, husband, wife, father, mother, sister, or brother serving right now. And all of them, those serving and those who support them, are indeed American treasure. We owe them our best support to keep them safe, trained well, supplied well, cared for medically, and afforded every opportunity that their benefits grant them because they've earned them. Now, there's a crisis in our country taking shape wherein many of these traditional families who have over the generations encouraged their young adults to enlist in the service of our nation are now suggesting that they not even join. And this is so because moms and dads and the potential recruits themselves have lost faith and trust in the government that's supposed to care for them, but they don't. They don't want to be used as guinea pigs or forced to take unproven medical treatments as part of an experiment or designed to harm them. And it's terrible to have to think that way, but that's how Americans and families and young people are thinking. And I'm giving voice to those thoughts. When Hollywood depicts basic training in the movies, they often show you the recruits processing, getting issued uniforms, getting haircuts, and receiving shots. The question today is, what's in those shots? Well, for those who don't have young people in the armed forces of the United States, you might ask about now, watching this, why should I even care? Well, in 2 words, the draft. The draft was never popular because, of course, it takes your freedom away. And if by chance you're thinking, or you're not thinking straight just yet because your child might be in college and you don't have to worry, remember that your sons were obligated to sign up for selective service to get the federal assistance to pay for the college. That's the list that will be used to draft these young people to join the military. Military members were among the first to be forced to accept the shots during the COVID period. Now, many Americans can feel currently that something's wrong with America, but they're having a hard time putting their finger on what that is exactly. And some feel that they'll know better once something big happens, because then they'll know what to do. It'd be clear. But part of the reason for people not knowing what to do right now is because we in our lifetimes haven't been here before in this element of unknown. We're in something that's actually identified as 5th generational warfare, and it's not the kind that we're accustomed to. Some are waiting for a national hero, the guys with the white hats or the knights in shining armor, to show up and lead the charge and show you what to do and put it all together for you. But you have to be all of those things right now, because in truth, no one's coming to help us. No one. Americans, this time, we have to help ourselves. If you're listening or watching this broadcast from outside the United States, but have relatives here in the United States, kindly share this message and this video with them. If America falls, your country won't be far behind. Now, for VFW members of the Vietnam Veterans of America, the American Legion, the Elks Club, the USO, parents and loyal Americans, you can help service people. If you're waiting for a way to take our country back and begin getting things right again, we must protect those who are in the service and there to protect us, the United States military. Our military personnel have a legal obligation to obey every lawful order, and they also have a legal obligation to refuse an illegal one. But it's not always easy to make that fight. That's where you and I come in, and those looking to help and support our military service personnel. Our government is governed by the consent of the people, but lately it doesn't seem to be listening to the people. And I'm here to tell you that The people are getting pissed off. When a person agrees to join the military, they take an oath. You've often heard references to that. Here's what that oath says. First of all, they raise their right hand, and there's someone in front of them that's reading the words, and they repeat them back. So the person reading the words would say, I state your name, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me, according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice, so help me God. The oath has no expiration date, and we like it that way. But understanding that oath we serve, when it says enemies, foreign and domestic, some of us might think of terrorists, and that's understandable. But someone committing treason against this country is an enemy against this country and doesn't look like a terrorist. They blend in. They're harder to find, but they can be found, for example, like Benedict Arnold was found out. A couple of days ago, on January the 1st, 2024, at 4 a.m. in the morning, the following was delivered to the senior military leadership of the United States. It's something called Declaration of Military Accountability. It's an open letter to the American people from the signatories of this Declaration, Military Accountability. Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. John Adams, in the course of human events, it sometimes becomes necessary to admonish the lawless, encourage the faint-hearted, and strengthen the weak. We have reached just such a time in our history. The affairs of our nation are now steeped in voracious corruption, and our once stalwart institutions, including the Department of Defense, are failing to fulfill the moral obligations upon which they were founded. Standing upon our natural and constitutional rights, we hereby apprise the American people that we have exhausted all internal efforts to rectify recent criminal activity within the armed forces. In the Declaration of Independence, our founding fathers sought separation, but we seek no separation. But through this letter and the efforts we pledge herein, we pursue restoration through accountability. We intend to rebuild trust and restore the rule of law, particularly within the armed forces. Ultimately, we strive to once again become a moral people, restoring our nation and making it again worthy of the great gift of liberty won by the colonial-era American people. While implementing the COVID-19 vaccine mandate, military leaders broke the law, trampled constitutional rights, denied informed consent, permitted unwilling medical experimentation, and suppressed the free exercise of religion. Service members and families were significantly harmed by these actions. Their suffering continues to be felt financially, emotionally, and physically. Some service members became part of our ever-growing veteran homeless population, and some developed debilitating vaccine injuries, and some even lost their lives. In an apparent attempt to avoid accountability, military leaders are continuing to ignore our communications regarding these injuries and the laws that were broken. For General Miley, Admiral Grady, General McConville, Admiral Gilday, Admiral Lester, General Brown, General Berger, General Smith, Vice Admiral Kilby, Vice Admiral Noel, Vice Admiral Fuller, Lieutenant Martin, Lieutenant General Davis, Mr. Edmondson, General Williams, Admiral Fagan, Vice Admiral Buck, Lieutenant General Clark, Major General Francis, Lieutenant General Dingle, Lieutenant General Miller, Rear Admiral Gillingham, and numerous others. These individuals enabled lawlessness and the unwilling experimentation on service members. The moral and physical injuries they helped inflict are significant. They betrayed the trust of service members and the American people. Their actions caused irreparable harm to the armed forces and the institutions for which we have fought and bled. These leaders refuse to resign or take any other action to hold themselves accountable, nor have they attempted to repair the harm their policies and actions have caused. And since there have yet to be any accountability, the undersigned give our word to do everything morally permissible and legally possible to hold our own leadership accountable. We intend to rebuild the trust by demonstrating that leaders cannot aside constitutional rights or the law for political expediency. The flag and general offices are far from the only ones complicit in recent illegal activities, as a significant number of SES leaders and political appointees contributed. Evidence indicates that other executive agencies are engaging in illegal activity. However, as service members and veterans, we feel particularly responsible for the DoD, and in accordance with our oaths, we will make every effort to demonstrate by example how an institution can put its own house in order. We, the undersigned, on behalf of hundreds of thousands of service members and the American people, while appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for guidance and purity of intention, mutually pledge to each other that we will do everything in our power through lawful word and action to hold accountable military leaders who failed to follow the law when their leadership and moral courage was most desperately needed. In the coming years, thousands within our network will run for Congress and seek appointments to executive branch offices. And while those of us still serving on active duty will continue to put fulfilling our oaths ahead of striving for rank or position, for those who achieve the lawful authority to do so, we pledge to recall from retirement the military leaders who broke the law and who will convene courts, martial, for the crimes they committed. And for those of us who attain legislative offices, we will pledge to introduce legislation to remove all retirement income for the military leaders who were criminally complicit. And we will ensure none serve in or retire from the senior executive service. This endeavor will be a continuous process with a long-term time horizon. But fulfilling our oaths to defend the Constitution requires just such persistent vigilance. Likewise, we are obligated and so commit to train for those who come after us and to fulfill their duty in achieving this, accountability and safeguarding against such leadership failures hereafter. Our nation was once great because it was good. It was built on moral principles, founded in natural law, and yet in recent acceleration of moral relativism has us headed towards a precipitous implosion. With all good things come to an end. We refuse to allow our nation to go quietly into the depths of decadence and decay. We promise to exhaust all moral, ethical, and legal means to restore the rule of law, and will begin by attempting to hold senior military leaders accountable. The Constitution is the supreme law of our land. We will fight to enforce that law and put an end to the two-tiered justice system. May future generations see our efforts, and God willing, may they also be recipients of the great gift of liberty that we have had the honor of safeguarding. 231 very brave Americans on active duty and some retired have signed this declaration. And if you would like to support it, you can. I'm asking you to support it by signing it and sharing it far and wide for the sake of humanity, the sake of our country, and peace and stability in the world. I'm asking you to go visit militaryaccountability.com, militaryaccountability.com, and put your name to the words you just heard me say. This is Joseph, and you've been listening to and watching the My Cross, His Grace podcast radio. Thank you, family, patriots. I appreciate your listening.